My mother-in-law says I shouldn't wear white on my wedding day because I'm not pure. We shall see. We shall see. I, 32 female, am planning my wedding to my fiance, 30 male. But his mother has a problem with every choice and decision I've made. For context, I met his parents, his father and stepmother, before I met him. I worked closely with his father, and after a family tragedy, I met my now fiance. One of his younger sisters passed away. I was already in a relationship when we met, but it wasn't a good one. He never stopped trying though. After I found out that I was pregnant, my boyfriend at the time decided he was not going to stick around. Fiance's parents took me in and helped me through a lot of sadness and grief. In comes my knight in shining tin foil. His words. He took me to doctor's appointments, helped me when I had morning sickness, and brought me chocolate and ice cream when I just needed to cry it out. That's when it all started to go downhill. Mother-in-law would make sly and rude comments about my weight and how she wished her son would find someone who would have waited to make a family with him. For all intents purposes, my son is his. Fiance is only dad my son has known. Father-in-law would say things along the line of, if I wanted my son to date you, I would have introduced you to earlier. I just shrugged it off and just focused on being as healthy as possible for my baby. I have severe anxiety and depression, so making sure my mental health is stable is what most important, not their words. But it just kept getting worse. Fiance wasn't able to be there for the birth of my son because he was working outside the state at the time. He was sad that he wasn't able to be there, but called me every day to check on us. I had an emergency C-section because my son and I both had issues with the anesthesia and our BPs plummeted. I almost passed away, and my son wasn't breathing when he arrived into this world. I later found out that my mother-in-law, father-in-law never told him I was in labor, and he was still at home when I went to the hospital. He could have been there. A week later, my son and I were able to go home and recover. Mother-in-law started immediately sending my posts and TikToks about how to get back in shape. Oh, she was sending you. Listen, some people in this life are just a bunch of haters and they're miserable with life. Because, damn, she just gave birth. Can you let her body heal? And that's the worst part. Like, it's coming from another person. That's a mother herself. Was somebody sending her posts? Well, not in her time. Somebody was sending her news clippings of workout equipment and for her to get back in shape after just giving birth? Miserable. I had my son 3 male when I was 29. They always told me how important it was for their son to be with someone who cares about their health. Mother-in-law will also talk nonstop about how her and her daughter went right back to their normal size after having kids. Mother-in-law also liked to point out how skinny her daughter was, even while she was pregnant. I found out I was pregnant with my first daughter a month before my son's first birthday. Fiance and I were ecstatic that our little family was growing, even if it was faster than we hoped. All 3 of my children were conceived while on birth control. I don't know what type of birth control y'all be taking. Y'all are some fertile myrtles. After our daughter, 22 female, was born, we talked about possibly getting married. I've never been super girly, but throughout things I have always imagined was a wedding. I told him I wouldn't have a problem making it official. I just don't want anything super traditional or uppity. It's a celebration after all. I had lost my stepdad as a teenager, so I wouldn't have anyone to walk me down the aisle. So our wedding would look a little different, and I didn't want him to propose to me unless my family was there also. Fast forward to my son's second birthday. My son and I were on a scavenger hunt for his last birthday present, and it ended in our family standing in a semicircle around my fiance on one knee. It was beautiful. He got me a beautiful hexagon moss agate ring, and my mom and grandma were there. Literally 5 minutes later, my mother-in-law was asking about the wedding plans. Fiance and I agreed on a fall wedding. She said we should do it in the spring. We agreed on burgundy, teal, and dusty rose with silver accents. She said we should do purple and gold. I want rustic bohemian wedding. She said it should be formal. I want to wear informal dress and cowboy boots with a flower crown instead of a veil. This is where I decided mother-in-law was never going to be okay with fiance and I being together. She told me I shouldn't wear a white dress because I am not pure. She said it isn't proper or right for me to wear white because I had children outside of wedlock. This woman wasn't married until 5 years after having 3 children. She wore white. I explained to her that none of the women in my family were pure before getting married, and they all wore white, and I wasn't having a traditional wedding, so traditional aspects of the wedding weren't important to me. She lost it, calling me harlot. Who still uses that? You're a no, they call it a harlot. You're a harlot. And telling me I was ruining the sanctity of marriage. Ain't the pot calling the kettle black? Ma'am, you had 5 children. You had what? You were married 5 years after having 3 children, but she's ruining the sanctity of marriage? Like, come on, just mind your business and keep it moving. Your son is happy, he's getting married. That's all that matters. She married 2 before, and she is technically married to her second. Father-in-law and her only held a ceremony, not legally married. I know this because I was literally there. I ended a conversation about it and told my fiance I didn't want their opinions on our special day. His parents said they weren't going to pay for anything if they didn't get a say in the planning. We never asked them to pay for anything. Most of the planning is around the reception anyway, and I decided it would be fun to do a potluck/barbecue. We provided the meat and dessert. Everyone else provided the sides. The venue I found is free for use for the day and a $50 cleanup fee for night use. It is outside and well-kept Port O'John's, and they will rent tents, tables, chairs, and all the other odds and ends for about $100. Even with 2 small children, we could afford everything we needed. My dress, shoes, accessories are only $150 combined. My hand making of all the bouquets, boutonnieres, and centerpieces out of felt designs I found of lilies and succulents and old formula cans. The bridesmaid dresses are about $80 a piece and can be worn a multitude of ways. And the groomsmen's shirts are $30 and are just going to be styled with a nice pair of blue jeans and boots. The colors I chose give the wearers the ability to wear them more than once for a decent price. Mother-in-law is now saying I'm tacky and I'm trying to exclude her and sister-in-law from everything. Man, if you said that you are not going to contribute to paying anything if you don't have a say, now she says, okay, you don't have a say anyway. I'll pay for whatever the hell I want to do on my wedding. Now you're trying to be excluded. The level of misery. Sister-in-law is one of my bridesmaids and told me she won't be helping because she doesn't like the theme. One of my younger sisters is going to be our photographer. She's trying to get her business up and running and asked if she could give me her time and use my wedding as practice/advertising. I agreed immediately. Another of my sisters is an amateur baker. She's gifting us a small cake to cut. The list of things I am upcycling for their wedding reception is long, but hopefully you get the picture. Mother-in-law is fuming. To placate her, we agreed to move the wedding to the spring of 2024. Well, in November of 2023, I found out I was pregnant again. I would have been 7 months pregnant at the time of our wedding. We decided to postpone the wedding until after I had the baby. She'd been pressing us to get married ever since she found out we're having another bastard baby. For all of those you keeping track, yes, that is 3 babies in 3 years. I had our 3rd and final baby, which is 3 months ago. I'm thankful we did postpone, though, because 4 months later, my mom passed away. Three months after losing my mom, my last surviving grandparent passed. So in the span of 6 months, I lost my mom and grandma and was a month away from having a baby. The birth of my second daughter was traumatic, to say the least. And a week later, I had to go into emergency surgery to remove a gigantic hematoma from my abdomen that formed because of the traumatic birth. After 3 months, I had finally healed from surgery and finally able to work out to get back into healthy shape. I'm still grieving the loss of 2 of the most important people in my life. This year has made me come to the realization that what's important is where we are happy and my family is safe and together. My fiance said he wishes he could have had more time with his mother-in-law. He misses her too. We're hoping to have a reception in autumn of 2025. We decided to elope and only have the closest people there with us when we say our vows. I'm still doing all the things I planned for our wedding, tacky or not. I hope mother-in-law hates it. My mother would be so proud of how I'm handling my issues with my mother-in-law. Sickly sweet customer service always pisses a Karen off, and my mother lived to piss Karens off. That's beautiful. First of all, the fact that she's talking about you not pure, I'd be like, was your mouth pure when you got married? Because, baby, you already had 3 kids by the time you married, and you and your second husband. Don't talk about nobody pure. Listen, after this, I would go no contact because she's disgusting. You don't need this type of negativity starting the journey of your new life by being husband and wife. If y'all happy, That's all that matters. The hell with what mother-in-law, father-in-law, sister-in-law